Well, g'day guys, I'm Jamel Boukabou, a two-star distributor with Youngevity International, and I'm with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who I listen to almost every day on his podcast. G'day Pharmacist Ben, how you going?
Good day, I like that, good day.
How can people get to your official site and things like that?
Truthtreatments.com. We're changing the way skincare is done. Truthtreatments.com. No water, no filler, no wax, no emulsifier, no silicone, just 100% active and functional ingredients. Truthtreatments, plural.com.
And Ben, you're very popular on the net, all over the place. I love listening to your free daily podcast on
the Bright Side.
Yeah.
Bright Side. You listen to it?
And you can download that on iTunes or anything like that. I like to stream it and subscribe, but I'll put the links in how to get to Ben, and he does have a referral system and all these kinds of things, but I'll let you know. And Pharmacist Ben, great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Jamal.
Cheers. Bye. Hello, everybody. My name is Jamel Boukabou. I am a two-star executive with Youngevity International. I'm a distributor, not a healthcare professional. So please contact your own if you do want to know more about the business or the products. Please contact the person that referred this video to you. If you don't have one, contact myself. The details will be in the comments when uploaded. All these videos are uploaded for everybody to use on the New Zealand official Facebook page. You can contact Tracy for any information there. She's head of sales and here to help you build your Youngevity business. We have Dr. Wallach on a special mission today, so he can't be with us because he is, in my opinion, the best doctor on the planet. And so we've had 15 weeks of Dr. Wallach. He'll be back next week, but today we are very, very lucky to have down under and wherever you're listening, all over the world, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. What I love about Ben is that he is a pharmacist. So he understands on a molecular level, a cellular level, how everything works. And he is here to give us his wealth of knowledge, information. I've had the very good fortune to meet him more than once at conventions and things like that overseas. He is involved with Youngevity. You can also catch him. I listen to his daily podcast, which is on the GCN radio network. You can download it on iTunes. I stream it. The Brightside podcast with Ben Fuchs there on iTunes. You can add that to your playlist. Also, pharmacistben.com. Go to pharmacistben.com, his official site. Ben Fuchs, welcome, g'day, and aloha.
Jamel, good day to you and Ken and everybody out there, including my friend Karen, who I haven't seen for several years. Hi, Karen and Broome. And where's Kevin?
Oh, they're all jumping on right now.
Oh, I'll say hi to Kevin too. I don't see Kevin on my Zoom call here. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and it's really an honor. When Doc called me yesterday and asked me to do it, I was like, Doc, are you kidding me? It's a total honor. I really appreciate it. And I love my friends down under, even though you guys are dealing with all kinds of craziness these days, even more than we are here. And, you know, I could talk about the immune system, and the immune system is really important. And Jamel said he wanted to talk about detoxification, and my specialty is the skin. But really, one of the main things that I like to talk about, and one of the main points of all my presentations is that the body breaks down generically. And whether you have it break down in the nervous system and it shows up as Alzheimer's and cognitive decline or multiple sclerosis, or whether it shows up in the skin as psoriasis or eczema, or whether it shows up as fatty liver disease, or whether your breakdown is cancer or diabetes, it's really all, at the end of the day, they're all really the same kinds of things, because the body is not organ-centric, it's cell-centric. And even though we focus on the different organs in the body, it's really about the cell. And all cells, whether they're liver cells or whether they're eye cells or whether they're heart cells, need the same thing. When we're sick, even though we see it at the level of the skin or the liver or various organs of the body, what's really sick is the cell. And all cells need the same thing. Cells have been around for 3.5 billion years, and in the 3.5 billion years, they've evolved to just to require simple things. They require nutrition, they require oxygen, and they require a clean place to do their work. So that if you can figure out how to feed a cell, how to breathe a cell, and how to keep a cell clean, you're going to be healthy and you're going to live a long life. In fact, if you can figure out how to do all of those three things, not only are you going to be healthy and live a long life, but according to a study that just came out yesterday, you can actually reverse the aging process, specifically with something called hyperbaric oxygen. I don't know how many of you guys saw this, but this was an article that came out yesterday that for the first time they've shown that age can be reversed, that we can actually go backwards in time with something as simple as oxygen. Oxygen being one of the three basic needs of a cell. Cell needs to be fed, it needs to be breathed, and it needs to have a clean place to do its work. And the only things that go wrong with the cell are starvation, suffocation, and toxification. And this triad of breakdowns, starvation, suffocation, and toxification at the level of the cell is behind all diseases, no matter what you call them. There are, if you go to the World Health Organization's website, they'll tell you there's 80,000 plus different diagnoses. And I always make this funny joke. I say there's only one disease. Even though we have 84,000 diseases, you guys probably all heard me say this. Even though there's 84,000 diagnoses, 84,000 different ways the body can break down, there's only one disease. It's called MBFA disease. My body is falling apart disease. That's the only disease there is. And we don't want to get off on these tangents of all the different ways the body breaks down. You know, if our body is breaking down at the level of the nervous system, we have multiple sclerosis, or at the level of the muscles, then we have myasthenia gravis, or at the level of the brain, and we have Alzheimer's disease. What we tend to do is we go to different doctors. We go to a doctor who specializes in the brain. We go to a doctor who specializes in nerves. We go to the doctor who specializes in the muscles. We go to specialists. We're obsessed with specialists. Well, anybody who's ever interacted with a specialist, I'd like to know, when was the last time a specialist ever helped somebody with a disease? It doesn't happen because there's no special diseases. There's only one disease. The body breaks down, and it breaks down at the level of the cell. So why is this important? Well, it means for us in the business, even though we're not healthcare professionals necessarily, we don't have to be, because no matter what the disease state is, if we can address the cell at the level of respiration, nutrition, and detoxification, every single health challenge will begin to improve. Every one of them. Without doctors, without going to medical school, without knowing special protocols and knowing, having special understandings of organ systems, all we have to do is figure out how to nutriate the cell, how to respirate the cell, and how to keep the cell clean. That is, keep the cell from being toxic. So that's what I'm going to talk about here today. But the main point is I want to empower average, regular lay people with no special understanding about biology or chemistry to be able to reverse and improve all disease conditions. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what part of the body that you're dealing with. If you feed it, we're talking about the cells, but really feed the body and then feed the cells, breathe the body and then breathe the cells, and then keep the cells in the body clean via first detoxification, and secondly, not putting toxins in the body in the first place, everything will improve. That should be the most empowering message anybody has ever heard if they're dealing with a chronic long-term degenerative disease. And in this country, 80% of our healthcare costs are based on these chronic long-term degenerative diseases. And if you understand that all you got to do is breathe, eat, and detoxify, you can see how tragic this condition, on the one hand, how tragic this situation is, but on the other hand, how inspiring it can be if you understand how to leverage these 3 points. So first of all, let's take oxygenation. Oxygenation should be the simplest thing that we do. We just breathe, right? Problem is that when we're under a condition of stress, when we're under what's called fight or flight, we don't breathe correctly. We breathe shallow. And from the time we're born, we are conditioned to be under stress. Even just coming out of the womb and coming into the world through the birth canal is an extremely stressful situation, let alone the traumas a child has to deal with, and then a teenager has to deal with, an adult has to deal with. By the time we're in our 30s or 40s or 50s, we've learned to respond to our environment by activating the stress response. Under conditions of stress, we don't breathe correctly, and you can experience this yourself right now. If you just think about something unpleasant, just in your brain, think about credit card bill, relationship, jobs, the political situation, and notice how when you think of something unpleasant, you stop breathing. Can you see it? Can you guys all see that? How you have a tendency to clench up, and this happens, we don't even know it happens, but it happens over and over and over again, multiple times a day through over the course of days and weeks and months and years and decades. By the time we're in our 30s and 40s and 50s, we've been conditioned to not breathe correctly, so much so that some people actually find it hard to breathe correctly. So number one, the reason it's number one is because it's the easiest thing for us to do. We have to learn how to breathe correctly. And by breathe correctly, I mean breathing into the belly to where the belly comes out. And then when you're exhaling, blowing air out, pushing the belly in. That's called belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. You have a muscle right in the middle of your body called your diaphragm. And when you breathe in, excuse me, the diaphragm goes down and the belly goes up. And as you exhale, the diaphragm comes back up. And if any of you guys are singers or speakers, you know that if you want to sing correctly, or if you want to breathe, or if you want to speak correctly, you got to sing from the diaphragm or speak from the diaphragm. And when you do this, by the way, you support, and I'll talk about this in a moment, you support the detoxification system as well. Because one of the ways we detoxify is through the lungs. We exhale. So it's not only a very powerful way to get oxygen into your system and oxygen into the cells, but it's also a great way to detoxify. Not only that, but when the diaphragm goes up and down, it almost acts like a second heart. So it improves blood circulation as well when the diaphragm goes up and down. Not only that, but when the diaphragm goes up and down and when you breathe correctly, you push, you push toxicity through the lymph. And that also has a detoxification benefit. Not only that, but oxygen is alkalinizing. Many of you guys have heard about the importance of blood pH, and a lot of people are concerned about low acid blood and want to know how to alkalinize the blood. Well, you don't need anything fancy to alkalinize the blood because nature designed oxygen to be the primary alkalinizing agent, and carbon dioxide blowing out, carbon dioxide is acidic, blowing off carbon dioxide makes you lose acid. So you're detoxifying, you're improving circulation, you're alkalinizing the blood, and of course, you're oxygenating the cells simply by deep breathing. So everybody, and by the way, slow deep breathing is one of the great ways to lower your blood pressure. And if you have a blood pressure cuff, you can test this out yourself. You can just sit on the couch and put the blood pressure cuff on, take a baseline blood pressure and see what it's at, and then practice slow, deep breathing for 5 or 10 minutes to take your blood pressure again, and you'll notice that your blood pressure drops like a stone. In fact, it sounds ironic because it should be the easiest thing in the world to do, but a lot of people have a hard time breathing correctly. If you find that you have a hard time breathing deeply or diaphragmatic breathing or practicing diaphragmatic breathing, sit in a warm bath and do it. It's much easier to breathe deeply in a warm bath because the body is totally relaxed when you're immersed in warm water. So job number one is slow, deep breathing, great for circulation, great for detoxification, great for alkalinization, oxygenates the cells, a whole slew of benefits. And according to research that just came out yesterday, it's also a great way to reverse the aging process. The second thing is nutrition, obviously. And what we call the Mighty 90 essential nutrients are the menu from which a cell eats. The cell has been around for 3.5 billion years, and it has developed a taste for specific foods. Cell's like a miniature person. The cell has a has a detoxification system. It has a reproductive system. It has a skeletal system. It has a miniature brain. A cell has all of the things that we have, and it likes to eat like we like to eat, except a cell doesn't eat hamburgers and it doesn't eat pizza. It eats the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, and that's it. That's all it eats. It eats the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. I should say there's a couple other things too, like oxygen and glucose, but the large predominant proportion of the cell's food, if you will, is the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, and the fatty acids that we call the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. If anybody ever asks you what the Mighty 90 essential nutrients are, you tell them it's the menu from which a cell eats. And without that menu, without a complete menu, the cell cannot be healthy. So what's the best way to get the Mighty 90 essential nutrients? Well, obviously, we all know the Healthy Start Pack gives you the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, and all the supplements from Youngevity are a great way to get the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. There are also cofactors that aren't cell foods, but help protect the cell. They don't go into the cell. The cell doesn't eat these things, But these factors, and I'll tell you what these are in a second, act as guardians to help relax the cell, to protect the cell, and to remove stressors from the cell, or to help the cell deal with stressors. These molecules that help cells deal with stressors are called adaptogens. You may have heard the term adaptogens. An adaptogen is a molecule, and they're mostly found in plants. And we also know them as phytonutrients or phytochemicals. And these substances don't go into a cell to feed the cell, but they protect the cell. They have a guardian-like role to play. And they're also important, even though a cell doesn't eat them. And that's why it's critical to make sure that you're ingesting and eating lots of veggies, a plant material. Best way to get your veggies is in veggie juices. And veggie juices give you a couple of benefits. Number one, it's a great way to get a high concentration of these phytonutrients. But number two, and this is really important, vegetables are a source of liquid, a very special liquid, a magical liquid. That's a type of water, but it's not ordinary water. It's structured water or crystalline water. And this structured water or crystalline water is actually a fourth type of water. You know, if you remember from your high school chemistry or high school physics, there were three phases of water. They call them, there's steam, which is gaseous water. There's water, which is liquid water. And then there's ice, which is solid water. Well, it turns out there's a fourth form of water, which is structured water, i.e. crystalline water or magical water. And the structured water, crystalline water, provides a large proportion of the body. A large proportion of the liquid compartment of the body is structured water. Structured water conducts electricity very effectively, much more effectively than ordinary water. And this is one reason why the body can conduct electrical energy so rapidly from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, because the water is being conducted through this, the electricity is being conducted through this structured water. So where do you get structured water? Veggies. And the higher the water content in the veggie, the more structured water you're getting. So making sure that you're using high water veggies, things like lettuce and cucumber and bell pepper and celery in your juices, will not only provide you with phytonutrients, but will also provide you with structured water. What's more, if you blend, when you blend your veggies or spin them in a vortex, you amp up the electrical energy. And if you drink your veggies fresh, you're actually going to be drinking this electrically charged structured water substance that's loaded with phytonutrition. The same thing can be accomplished, by the way, with your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Beyond Tangy Tangerine has nutrients that help structure ordinary water. And there you go. And when you put your Beyond Tangy Tangerine in water and spin it around in a vortex, nice, Jamal. When you put your Beyond Tangy Tangerine in water and spin it around in a vortex, you're drinking structured water. This is really effective for the third phase of taking care of a cell, which is detoxification. One of the all-time great strategies for detoxification doesn't cost you a penny. In fact, this strategy for detoxification that doesn't cost you a penny will actually make you money, because this strategy is fasting. And by fasting, you're not only not costing any money because you don't have to spend money on food, you're actually saving money. So you actually make money while you're detoxifying. It doesn't require anything fancy. You just stop eating. When you stop eating, your body cleans itself like a self-cleaning dishwasher. The same idea. And all you gotta do is stop eating. Now, if for folks who have a hard time just not eating anything, a great way to get energy without having to get calories, and by the way, fasting is about having no calories, becoming calorie free. And we talked earlier about how hyperbaric oxygen or oxygenation is a great way to age reverse. Another great way to age reverse is to restrict the amount of calories that you eat on a regular basis. One of the hardest things that we do to our bodies is eat. Now, we all have to eat, but every time we eat food, we activate our body's inflammatory and immune systems. So we all have to eat, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword. And the less you eat, the longer you live. And I can looking at you guys on the video here, I can see most of you guys are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, older. Eating is a young man's game. Eating is for kids. It's not, and we have to get that through our heads. As we get older, we don't need to eat as much. And not changing over as we age, not changing our habits, our eating habits, costs us longevity and quality of life. The less we eat, the longer you live. What has this got to do with structured water and juicing and Beyond Tangy Tangerine? Well, when you drink structured water and Beyond Tangy Tangerine and vegetable juices, you get energy, electrical energy through this vortex, through the vortification, if you will, of the water and the nutrients and the phytonutrients. You get electrical energy without calories. So it's a great way to, great tool to leverage for intermittent fasting or for calorie restriction. Now, on to detoxification. We talked about breathing for detoxification. We talked about intermittent fasting for detoxification. Well, there's other mechanisms that you can use to detoxify. In order to do that, we got to talk about the specific structures in the body that are responsible for detoxification. You have 6 organs of detoxification. Your liver, which everybody knows about, your kidneys, the skin, which people don't think of as an organ of detoxification, the kidneys, the colon, the intestine, and the lymph. Those are your 6 organs of detoxification. For the lungs, you can facilitate detoxification by breathing, obviously. For the liver, you can facilitate detoxification by using bile support and a nutrient called glutathione. Bile is one of the great underappreciated fluids in the body. We all appreciate the blood and we appreciate the tears and the urine and the water, but we don't honor and appreciate the bile. And it turns out bile is your detoxifying fluid. In pharmacy school, you guys all probably know I'm a pharmacist. In pharmacy school, they teach us about how drugs are eliminated. Drugs are either eliminated through the bile or they're eliminated through the kidneys being another organ of detoxification. A lot of hormones are eliminated through the bile. If you have a problem with your bile, you're going to have a problem detoxifying. If you have a problem with your gallbladder, which is a bag of bile, or God forbid you had your gallbladder taken out, you're going to have a problem detoxifying. If you're ingesting a lot of toxins, food toxins, for example, you're eating a lot of gluten, or you're eating other food allergens, if you're allergic to eggs and you're eating eggs, or you're eating a lot of flour, if you're eating things that are hard for the body to process, bile can become sticky and sludgy. If your bile becomes sticky and sludgy, it's not as effective at detoxification. One of the things that bile detoxifies and cleans out is estrogen and hormones. And so if you are a female and you're older, you're going to be more prone towards gallstones. And we know that as women get older, they're more prone towards having gallbladder problems, largely because of this issue with sticky bile. If you're on prescription drugs, many of them are cleaned out by the bile system. So if your bile is sticky and sludgy, you're not going to be detoxifying your prescription drugs as effectively. So taking care of your bile is really important. And this is why I love the ultimate enzymes so much, because the ultimate enzymes are not only a source of enzymes, which everybody knows about, they're called the ultimate enzymes, but they're also a source of bile, and they can help support your bile system. Anything you can do to help support bile is going to support detoxification. The second element, for a liver detoxification is a nutrient called glutathione, not a nutrient, but a biochemical called glutathione. Glutathione is a protein, or technically it's a peptide. It's made up of 3 amino acids. And these 3 amino acids are glutamine, glycine, and cysteine. Glycine and glutamine and cysteine are found in dense, copious amounts in whey protein. So make sure you're using, and even glutathione itself is found in whey protein. So make sure you're using your Slender FX whey protein. And there's another protein here. What's the other protein that I'm thinking of here? It's in the liver, that's in the detox. You know, there's another protein that's in the 30-day detox program. I forgot what it is. But making sure you're getting enough whey protein is also a great strategy for taking care of the liver via glutathione. Then there's the lymph. The lymph is like a fluid system, like your circulatory system, like your blood system. But instead of blood, lymphatic fluid is circulated. Lymphatic fluid carries wastes. In addition to other things, lymphatic fluid carries wastes. And making sure you're moving your lymph is a major, major detoxification strategy. You probably heard the saying, sitting is the new smoking. And the reason this is so is because when we sit and when we're sedentary, we don't move our bodies, our lymph doesn't move. See, the lymph is like the blood vessels, except for one thing. The blood vessels have a pump on one end. The lymph doesn't have a pump. We're the pump. Our muscular movements are the pump. Our diaphragmatic breathing is the pump. Our rib cage going in and out is the pump. So you got to be able to move your body to move the lymph. One of the best ways to improve lymphatic circulation is by jumping up and down on a rebounder. A rebounder is a mini trampoline. Everybody should have them. They're like $60. You can keep them in your living room. They're amazing. You don't have to worry about any stress on your joints. You can get the same kind of workout that you can get by jogging without any stress. It's great for older folks. It's especially good when you feel like you're coming down with a cold or the flu. If you're coming down with a cold or flu, you'll kind of, if you're sensitive to your body, you can kind of sense that your body's sort of slowing down. Right before you get sick, think about the last time you got sick. You'll notice maybe like an hour or so before you start to show symptoms, you feel like you're in molasses a little bit, like things are a little bit slow. That's your lymph being sluggish. That's what the experience of a sluggish lymph. When that happens, start jumping up and down on a rebounder to get the lymphatic fluids moving. Another way you can get the lymphatic fluids moving is by hot and cold plunges. A lot of people, have you ever seen these people where they'll sit in a hot tub, and they'll jump in cold water, and they'll go back in the hot tub and then go in the cold water. That gives when that happens, when you're in the hot water, your lymphatic vessels are dilated, and then you jump in cold water, they contract. And then they dilate. When you're in the warm water again, they contract. You get this accordion-like effect. You don't have to go in a hot tub and a cold pool to do it. You do it in your shower. You just turn the hot water on, you turn the cold water on. You turn the hot water on, you turn the cold water on. Now, you do have to have a little bit of courage to do it, but it's a great way to circulate the lymph. The next organ is the kidneys. And this is one of the all-time great ways to detoxify, is drinking more water. Water helps flush the kidneys. Now, a lot of us are drinking water, and we're all walking around with water bottles, but one of the problems with drinking a lot of water is you tend to lose electrolytes and vitamin C as you urinate. The more water you drink, the more you urinate, the more you lose fluids. That's where Beyond Tangy Tangerine comes in. So drinking more water, but mixing in Beyond Tangy Tangerine with that water periodically is very important. In fact, one of the reasons why Beyond Tangy Tangerine is so effective for people who've never supplemented is because most people are drinking a lot of water, or drinking water anyway, and they're losing electrolytes. This is especially true in the first thing in the morning. If you've gone to the bathroom, urinated once or twice in the middle of the night, you're in a dehydrated state first thing in the morning. Drinking water first thing in the morning is almost like drinking caffeine for some people, because you fluidize the blood. And the more fluidized the blood is, the more oxygen you get to cells, and the more blood and oxygen you get to your brain. Also, when you're drinking water first thing in the morning, and I recommend this for diabetics especially, make sure you're mixing in a little Beyond Tangy Tangerine for that same reason, because you're going to be losing electrolytes when you drink your water. Diabetics will notice, or diabetics who fall off the wagon will notice that they can control their blood sugar more effective by drinking more water, because of this dilution effect or fluidizing effect of the blood. Your blood sugar is measured as a concentration of sugar per amount of blood. The more dilute the blood is, the lower your blood sugar concentration will be. So this is a great tip for diabetics. It's a real easy thing to do as well. And then the last organ of detoxification is the skin. The skin is, toxins come out through the skin, and by supporting the movement of cells upwards from the bottom of the skin towards the top, women probably have heard of exfoliation, you can help remove toxins through the skin. So dry brushing is a great strategy, and also using exfoliating aids like a loofah pad or even a washcloth, or alpha hydroxy acids, glycolic acid, lactic acid, and such. These exfoliating aids will speed up the removal of toxicity through the skin. So you've got oxygenation, slow, deep breathing, simple, easy to do. You've got nutriation, the Mighty 90 essential nutrients and vegetable juices. I should also say macronutrition is also important. Protein is very important. And then also fats, believe it or not, are very important. I'm sure everybody on this call probably recognizes that fats are important. Most people out in the non nutrition world or the non-longevity world are still have fat phobia. It turns out you really need fat, and fat is really important for detoxification. And then the mighty 9 essential nutrients and veggie juices. And then the third element, detoxification, focusing on the 6 organs of detoxification: the kidneys, drinking more water, using electrolytes, the skin, dry brushing and exfoliation, the liver, glutathione and supporting bile, the lungs, breathing correctly, the colon. Oh, I didn't say the colon, the intestine, fiber for the intestine, making sure you're doing fiber on a regular basis, as well as probiotics. I love the Nightly Essence probiotics. Personally, that's my favorite probiotic supplement. I always put people on the Nightly Essence no matter what their health challenge is. In fact, everybody needs probiotics, and no matter what their health challenge is. Probiotics help support the colon, and obviously the colon is not so much a detoxifying organ as much as it's an elimination organ. And then the lymph, moving the body, and diaphragmatic breathing, or hot and cold plunges, or jumping up and down on a rebounder. And that's pretty much the 3 elements of taking care of a cell: starvation, suffocation, and toxification being behind all health challenges. Addressing starvation by using nutrition, addressing suffocation by using respiratory techniques, breathing techniques, and addressing detoxification by focusing on the 6 major detoxifying organs. And then fasting, of course, and intermittent fasting, meaning fasting a couple of times a month just for the heck of it. And you'll feel better when you don't eat for a little bit as well. If you've ever experienced fasting, you'll know that for the first day or even first half day, you feel miserable. But by the end of the first day, you're starting to feel really good. And if you can pull it off for 2 days, you almost don't even want to eat on the 3rd day. You feel so good that food looks scary to you. And that's the way it should be. Food should look scary to us. And by scary, I mean we want to respect food. We've lost respect for food, and it costs us. All right, so that's the main point I want to get across, is this is for all health challenges. It doesn't matter whether it's multiple sclerosis, or whether it's atherosclerosis, or whether it's acne, or whether it's Alzheimer's disease. All health challenges will improve when you focus on taking care of feeding the cell, breathing the cell, and giving the cell a clean place to do its work. Okay, now I'll be happy to answer questions if you have questions.
Thank you, Pharmacist Ben. And Ben said to me, "Oh, what would you like me to speak about today?" And I said skin. And but I think the next call, if we do have Ben again, the immune system would be wonderful. I do remember one of your lectures, Ben. You were saying that with the skin, and this is what I always thought before I learned about Dr. Wallach and people like you. It's not always a topical thing like acne and all those kinds of things, and that's what you specialize in, and a lot of people just put creams on stuff expecting it to go away, right?
Yeah, by the time you see the zit, it's over. That ship has sailed. By the time you see the rash, by the time you see the psoriatic plaque, by the time you see the whatever, the wrinkle, by the time you see the dark spot, to try to treat the skin by addressing just the top without addressing what's happening underneath is like trying to put lipstick on the mirror. The skin is like the mirror. You don't put lipstick on the mirror because the mirror is not where the problem is. And the skin is just like a mirror. It's showing you what's happening. It's a reflection of what's happening inside the body. So and I've been in the skincare business for 35 years. I've been formulating skincare products since 1982, believe it or not. I can't even believe I said that. I started working in pharmacy school. I started working in dermatological pharmacy. I had a compounding pharmacy where I made skincare products, and I've been in the skincare business for many years. And one of the major lessons that I've learned is all skin health issues begin inside the body, and not merely inside the body. They begin at the level of the digestive system. It's all of them, unless with rare exceptions when you have a topical allergy, but that happens very, very rarely. In fact, eczema, most people have heard of eczema, which is a kind of a generic term for an inflammatory condition that occurs on the skin, is usually treated by steroid creams. But the technical name for eczema tells you exactly where the problem is. The technical name for eczema is atopic dermatitis. Derma means skin, titus means inflammation, atopic skin inflammation. What does atopic mean? Not topical. It's starting from the inside. So the name itself tells you that you're dealing with an inner condition, atopic dermatitis. And most skin conditions, not most, all skin conditions, with rare exceptions of topical allergies, which don't occur very often, are atopical. They start off on the inside, specifically on the digestive system. And so if you're dealing with and skin, by the way, there's a lot of psychology that's associated with the skin. When people have skin lesions or skin blemishes or kids who have acne, there's a psychological impact. It affects the kids, affects people. People don't want to relate to anybody. They don't want to show their face. There's a shame that's involved. And it can be psychologically debilitating. If it happens to kids, it can affect them for the rest of their life. And this is so tragic to me, because if you understand where the problem is, you can take care of it. The silliest study in medicine is dermatology, because they're treating the end result. It's like they're treating the excretion. You know, if you had a stomach problem and the doctor told you to treat, what you excreted in the toilet bowl, you think it was ridiculous, but that's how we treat the skin. Everything that comes out of the skin is an excretion, and we're treating the excretion on the skin. You want to treat it where it's starting, and almost always it's going to be at the level of the digestive system. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say always at the level of the digestive system, and you can prove this. So if you're dealing with psoriasis or acne or eczema or a skin condition of any kind, stop eating for a day, fast for a day, and for most people, their skin conditions will resolve. Rosacea is a classic example. Rosacea being redness that shows up in the nose or in the cheek area. Sometimes vasculature will show, sometimes acne will occur. Anybody with rosacea will tell you that when they eat certain foods, they break out, or they eat certain foods, they get red. They know it. It's a classic mechanism. So one of the things that happens at the level of the digestive system is if we don't break down our foods correctly, little chunks of food can leak into the bloodstream. This can be exacerbated by bacteria that are in the intestine. Bacteria live in the intestine. There's some 100 trillion or so bacteria, or more probably, bacteria that live in the intestine. Probably a quadrillion bacteria live in the intestine. They're supposed to stay in the intestine. Under conditions of leaky gut, or intestinal permeability, technically called, bacteria as well as undigested food can leak into the bloodstream. When bacteria or undigested food, pieces of bacteria and pieces of undigested food leak into the bloodstream, they can initiate an immune response, and that immune response can show up anywhere, and it oftentimes shows up on the skin. It's not just skin problems either that are associated with these bacteria and little pieces of food. The bacteria, by the way, the pieces of bacteria are called endotoxins, meaning toxins inside the body, or their technical name are LPS, or lipopolysaccharides. And these little pieces of bacteria, these endotoxins, these lipopolysaccharides, or LPSs, and little pieces of undigested food cause reactions, immune system reactions inside the blood. These immune system reactions inside the blood can migrate to organs of the body, and this is where autoimmune diseases come from. All autoimmune diseases, and we've got about 80 million people in this country. I don't know how many people in down under in Australia or New Zealand have autoimmune diseases, but a lot of people do, and guess what? There's no cure. There's nothing a doctor can do. All they can do is just give you steroids and watch your life deteriorate and until you die at an early age. And that's what happens to people with autoimmune diseases. Again, this is so tragic, because the mechanism, if you understand the mechanism of autoimmune diseases, you can do something about it. The mechanism to all autoimmune diseases is little pieces of undigested food and little pieces of bacteria getting into the bloodstream. So patching up the gut becomes very important for all health conditions, but we're talking about skin. For any kind of skin condition, patching up the gut, because these LPSs, these endotoxins, as well as undigested proteins, basically from that are leaking through this leaky gut or intestinal permeability issue, are responsible. So patching up the gut, number one, using things like collagen. It's one of the benefits of our collagen powder. It helps strengthen the intestinal lining. It's one thing that we don't talk about. Also, the glucogel caps can help strengthen the digestive lining. And then making sure you're using probiotics and making sure you're staying away from problem foods, and helping your body, helping your digestive system break down foods effectively using your ultimate enzymes. This is for all autoimmune diseases. This is for all health conditions, but especially for skin conditions. there's a couple nutrients, by the way, that are especially important for kids who have acne. And I've been studying acne for many years, so I have that's kind of one of my specialties. Zinc is like a cure almost. I hate to say the word cure, but zinc is almost like a cure for acne, and so is vitamin A. And interestingly, both zinc and vitamin A are very important for the immune system. It's no accident that zinc and vitamin A are part of these antiviral protocols that are coming out now for helping people with the virus that's out now. There's also, I should tell you this is kind of interesting, and a lot of people don't know it. We have a product called Sleep Ease. Have you heard of Sleep Ease? The Youngevity product, Sleep Ease?
Yes, Ben, we can't currently get it in via New Zealand.
You can't get it down there.
I think it's is it 5-HT?
No, is that what it is? It's melatonin. Can you get melatonin?
But
I was going to tell you, the melatonin in the Sweeties is a great immune booster. So making sure if you can't, can you get melatonin in health food stores down there? No?
I believe we can. And I'm sorry, I just mentioned, Ben, basically you're answering a lot of questions that people are asking, but we do have a lot of people that want to.
Let me say one more thing.
Yep.
Sunshine. Make sure you get sunshine. I had somebody ask me yesterday, a friend of mine called me up and said, hey, this guy's taking the OsteoFX. He's taking all kinds of calcium, but his calcium levels are low. Well, you can't absorb calcium without sunshine or vitamin D. So making sure that you're getting vitamin D, or sunshine is the best way to get your vitamin D. It's better than supplementing. But if you can't get sunshine, I mean, you shouldn't have a problem with sunshine where you guys are. But if for whatever reason, if you can't get sunshine, supplementing with vitamin D is the next best thing. It's very important for calcium absorption, and vitamin D plays a major role in intestinal health as well. So there's a real key role that vitamin D plays in keeping the intestine healthy for folks who are dealing with leaky gut issues. Okay, so what else? Did you have specific questions?
We sure do.
Okay.
Sheryl, do you want to go ahead? Sheryl's a distributor in New Zealand. She's got a question for an associate. Sheryl, if you want to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Good to see you, Ben. I loved it when you came to Auckland when we first joined Youngevity. So it's really great you're on our call today. Forrest and I flew up and we loved it. And we've talked to you each year.
I remember you. Where's Forrest there? Is he here today?
I don't think he's on today.
Tell him I said hello.
He will. He'll be on the recording for sure.
Yeah, I saw Forrest at the convention a couple years ago, I remember.
Yeah, we've been there every year. Yeah. And he went over the first year on his own and interviewed you actually about skin problems and
Forrest.
Yeah.
Is Forrest your boy?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So how can I help you?
So my question is about someone who's 55 and been diagnosed with Parkinson's 3 years ago.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The doctors filled them up on, medications. And
there's nothing they can do with medication. There's no medication that can cure Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a classic example of what I've been just talking about, how we want to focus on the brain and we want to focus on the movement disorders, but you really just got to go back to the basics. Parkinson's is a gut condition. It's a digestive condition. I didn't get to talk, I think the last time I did a talk for you, I think it was for you guys, I talked about the triangle of disease. The 3 points where the body breaks down: the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal system. Parkinson's is a classic example of a disease state that's on top of the triangle. And if we try to treat the Parkinson's without treating the triangle, it's not going to work, which is why doctors can't do anything for Parkinson's. But you can. Number one, all those endotoxins that I just talked about, they're highly correlated with Parkinson's disease. So focus on patching up the gut and eliminating problem foods and supporting digestive health. In fact, he'll notice, your patient will notice, 55 is very young. It's tragically young, which is good news, because when somebody breaks down that fast, that means something dramatic is happening. And that means the faster you're breaking down, the faster you can stop it, because there's something significant that's going on. He's probably been eating the wrong food his whole life. So if you can have him fast, that would be ideal. The second thing is the blood sugar system. And again, there's a relationship between inflammation, brain inflammation, Parkinson's disease and such, and blood sugar. So keeping his blood sugar stable is very important. Using things like the Sweeties, which is very important for, it has niacin in it and chromium, vanadium in it. And then also the niacin. Ultimate niacin, by the way, is a multifunctional supplement. It's not just good for, I think it's being sold as a cardiovascular support, but it's really important for blood sugar, as well as important for brain health and important for skin health. The disease state that's caused by niacin deficiency is called pellagra, and the pellagra is marked by diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and death. They call it the 4 Ds: diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and death. But niacin is also very important for blood sugar. So get them on the ultimate niacin and also the ultimate selenium, which is also important for blood sugar. So you're focusing on digestive system first, then you're focusing on blood sugar, and third, you want to focus on calming the body down. When under conditions of duress, inflammation is not addressed. The body inflammation stays because duress or stress shuts down the immune system. So that's why they give you cortisol for, if you have inflammatory problem, they'll give you cortisol. Excuse me. So making sure that the body is calm. And the best way to do that is by slow, deep breathing. I had a lady who had Parkinson's disease, and I would go visit her. She was an older lady, and I would go visit her and I'd say, Evelyn, we got to practice our breathing. And she'd be shaking like a leaf on a tree like this. And as she would be breathing, her tremors would start to slow down as she was breathing. If you can't breathe, get them in a warm tub. It's very difficult to have tremors in a warm tub. Hardly anybody will have tremors in a warm tub. Why? Because the body is relaxed in the warm tub, and because you're oxygenating in the warm tub. You know, women are so smart about their bodies, so much smarter than us guys about their bodies. When a woman is sad or depressed or had a hard day at work, what does she say? I'm going to go sit in the bath, right? Men never say that, but women are in tune with their bodies. They know intuitively that a warm bath is really helpful and really soothing. But what you might not know is you're improving oxygenation, you're lowering cortisol levels, you're improving blood flow to your brain and to your organs. You're activating the relaxation nervous system, which is anti-aging you and improving digestion. All markers of health will improve when you sit in a warm bath. So 3 points. Digestive system first and foremost. Always digestive system first and foremost. Stabilize the blood sugar and then relax the body. Get them on the Healthy Start Pack, all the blood sugar, nutrients. The de-stress is also good for stress. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Sheryl and Ben, and we've got about 13 minutes to go. We're going to see how many questions we can get in. Don't worry, these questions are recorded and uploaded to the New Zealand Facebook page. This call is for everybody, doesn't matter whose team you are in. Valerie from Broome. Valerie, I can see you there. If you want to unmute yourself and go ahead, Valerie.
This is the first time I've done this, so bear with me. I have just had a 1 centimetre melanoma removed from between my shoulder blades, and I'm wondering what I need to do. I'm listening to this skin broadcast really closely, but is there anything specific that I should be taking?
Yes. Cancer in general is a classic sign of cellular duress. We talked earlier, I'm sure you've probably been on the call, you've probably heard me at the beginning of the call talking about the cell. It's all about the cell. In the case of Parkinson's disease, you're talking about the brain cell. In the case of diabetes, you're talking about all the cells. In the case of multiple sclerosis, you're talking about nerve cells. In the case of melanoma, you're not just talking about the skin cells. You're talking about all the cells. Specifically, it's the melanocytes, but it's really a sign that your cells are under duress. When a cell is under duress, and by under duress, I mean it's stressed out, it's freaked out, what's supposed to happen is that cell will die eventually. First, the cell will become dysfunctional, its behavior will start to change, and what's supposed to happen when a cell gets under duress, it's supposed to die. However, we have a lot of cells, and every once in a while, a cell doesn't die. And instead of dying, it does something very weird. It starts to grow like a bacteria. See, there's 2 kinds of cells. There's bacterial cells, and there's everything else cells. Bacterial cells are a unique kind of cell. A bacteria just divides like crazy. Bacterial cells don't form organs. Excuse me. Bacterial cells don't form organs. Bacteria just spread. when a cell, a liver cell or a skin cell or a melanocyte, which is what you have when you have melanoma, decides it's not going to become a part of the organ, it's not going to become a liver, it's not going to become a bone, it's not going to become skin, it's not going to become a brain, it's just going to grow on its own, it starts to divide like crazy. That's what cancer is. Cancer is a human cell or an animal cell that is now acting like a bacterial cell. Why? Because it doesn't have enough nutrition, because it doesn't have enough oxygen, and because it hasn't been kept clean. The three things that go wrong with the cell are what trigger this out of control growth and this a cell acting like a bacteria. Basically, in order for a liver cell to become a liver or to make a liver, it has to give up its independence. It has to take one for the team. It has to no longer care about itself. It has to care about the community. There's a really interesting metaphor here. So for a liver cell, excuse me, for a cell to become that organ, it has to kind of lose its own personal independence and take one for the team and become the team. That's a very complex process, believe it or not. It's much simpler for a cell to say, forget it. I'm just going to go out on my own and just do what I do and just divide. And that's basically what happens at the level of the cell when you have cancer. A cell has been stressed out. It's at its wit's end. It doesn't know what to do, and it goes rogue. It becomes a sociopath, and it no longer cares about the team. It no longer cares about the organ. It just wants to divide. So what do? Well, first of all, most importantly, is you have to recognize, and this isn't necessarily for you, was it Victoria? What was this gal's name?
Valerie.
Valerie.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily for you. This is for all folks who have cancer. Just know this, and this is also for you too, Valerie. Cancers remit. They go away. I have a textbook of cases of cancers that have just gone away. They call them unexplained remissions, spontaneous remissions. So nobody has to regard cancer as a death sentence. Even the worst form of cancer, there's at least a 1% survival. That means if 1 out of 100 people can survive pancreatic cancer or metastatic breast cancer or whatever cancer or melanoma, whatever you're talking about, anybody can do it. So it's in the body's the body has within its capability, within its bag of tricks, it has mechanisms for eliminating cancer. So we want to get that mindset that we can reverse cancer. It's possible to do. The second thing is how you do it, and that is to be very kind and gentle and loving to your cells. And we just talked about how you do that. You feed the cell, you breathe the cell, and you keep the cell as clean as possible. You should be using the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, all of them. It's not like you take one remedy for the cancer. You want to make sure you're taking care of the cells, giving the cells what they need. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients, structured water, veggie juices, oxygenation. I'd be doing hyperbaric oxygen chambers, and then keeping your blood sugar stable as much as you can, as best as you can, and then relaxing the body. It's not one thing that you're doing for cancer, Valerie. It's taking care of the cells the way we all have to take care of ourselves. Cancer is just a sign that your cells have been freaked out enough that now they're growing in an out of control sociopathic rogue fashion. And that's what melanoma is one of the worst, because melanin is melanocytes, the cells that make melanin, are all over the body. It's not localized to one system. So melanoma is one of the worst. Melanocytes divide, carcinogenic melanocytes divide very rapidly. So that's really a very severe one. You got to be really careful. You must have had a history somewhere of other things. It didn't just happen. You were perfectly healthy and had melanoma, correct?
I've had chronic fatigue for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. There was things going on.
It's taken this long.
Yeah, your cells were under duress for a long period of time. Chronic fatigue usually involves the female reproductive system, by the way, and most people who have chronic fatigue are women.
Right.
Did you have any reproductive health issues?
Yes, I
Valerie?
had a baby. I had a baby.
Yeah, baby.
And I have not been the same since.
Okay, yeah, that could sometimes trigger things too. How is your weight?
I'm down to 48. That's the thing. And
I
try to avoid doctors, but it got to the point where my weight, what am I, 66? I'm 5'4" and 48 kilos.
Did
so
they put you on? Are you on chemo?
No, I won't do that. So
Okay, they just took the melanoma out. Be extremely kind and gentle and loving to your body and to your cells. And I didn't talk about, Karen wanted me to talk about my concept of SMEP, and I should really do that. I always feel like when I talk about nutrition, I always feel like, you know, we focus on the physical side of life so much that we sometimes lose our power and we lose leverage, because life and health and healing and wellness and how we exist in the world is much more than physical. We exist in the world emotionally, we exist in the world mentally, and we exist in the world spiritually. And all health challenges are the same way. I call it SMEP, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. If you're feeling emotions of rage or of jealousy or of anger, lousy emotions, basically, that's going to affect your stress system. That's going to affect cortisol. That's going to reduce your, lower your immunity. That's going to affect your digestive system. It's going to ultimately affect your thyroid and your blood sugar system. If you're thinking lousy thoughts, the same thing. And if you're not connected spiritually, and this is not denominational in any way, and I'm proselytizing in any way, but we have to have a sense of the numinous, of the large, the big, the divine, however you want to call it, God, Christ. The name of it doesn't matter, but just have some kind of spirituality going on in your life. And that's really, I found in my healing practice that anybody who's dealing with a severe health challenge is also dealing with a severe spiritual health challenge as well. So spirituality is really important. How we think is really important. Our emotions are really important, as well as working on the physical level.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you again, Pharmacist Ben. We've got about 4 minutes to go. My apologies for all the people that didn't get on today, but it's the first time we've had Pharmacist Ben, and the information that you've given us is just awesome. So I've got a really quick question by Sarah Sunshine Coast, and she's just wants to know when should you get checked up for moles? I mean, everyone in Australia probably has a mole on them somewhere. How that should be?
If a mole stays the same, you don't necessarily, it's not a big deal. It's when it changes. Right. That's when when it gets bigger, changes shape, changes color. That's when it's really problematic. So a mole on its own, like you say, everybody's got a mole. That's not a big deal. But if the mole starts to change, has the shape of it, it becomes irregularly shaped, or has the color changes, or anything about it changes, that's when you really want to be, that's when you want to be concerned. And it's something you want to make sure you take care of.
Thank you, Pharmacist Ben. Don't forget, Ben's got a daily podcast, Brightside. If you go to, I use iTunes. He's one of my subscriptions there. Here you go, Ben Figs there. And he also has his website. You can follow him on Facebook as well. And I just will go to one last. Paul Edwards, if you're there in Sydney, go ahead, unmute yourself and read out your question if you like. Pancreatic cancer for over 60s, what would be the best thing to do?
Pancreatic cancer is another one of those real severe cancers. A couple things. First of all, like I was telling Valerie with melanoma, don't overthink the organ. It doesn't matter where the organ, what cell the organ is in, whether the cell is in the pancreas or whether the cell is in the skin or whether the cell is in the liver. That's not important. You want to address the cell like you address all cells. Starvation, suffocation, toxification, work at the level of the triangle of disease. Now, there is some very interesting literature about pancreatic cancer and pancreatic enzymes. The pancreas is the reason pancreatic cancer is so serious is because it's an enzyme factory, and enzymes are extremely reactive. So pancreatic cancer, as it turns out, there's a lot of literature that shows that pancreatic cancer is responsive to high doses of pancreatic enzymes. And you might want to look into the work of Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, who's written a lot about pancreatic enzymes for all cancers, actually, but also for pancreatic cancer. The pancreas also is where insulin is made. So relaxing the pancreas by going on a low sugar or ketogenic diet is probably a good idea as well. And then making sure that you're on all of the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. If the cancer is severe, I actually suggest IV nutrition, intravenous nutrition, if that's available. And that's getting the nutrients put right into your bloodstream. And then also hyperbaric oxygen, which is high pressure oxygen. That's the oxygen that we talked about earlier on the video or on the Zoom call. that was used to reverse the aging process. Hyperbaric oxygen can be taken advantage of or leveraged in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which most hospitals will have, or a lot of hospitals will have hyperbaric oxygen chambers. So I would be doing that as well. Fasting is also really important for cancer. Cancer is a very hypermetabolic state, so calming the body down by fasting can be very helpful. Obviously, you need to be nutriated, but reducing your caloric intake when I say fasting, and then also veggie juices and structured water.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and then the Restart Your Life for Youngevity products, the Restart Your Life, the beta-glucan has got some good literature talking about its anti-cancer effects, anti-cancer.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ken, if you want to unmute yourself and give us a bit of a story how Ben's wearing his, it looks like an Aussie jacket to me, but I just want to firstly say sorry for not everybody getting to ask Ben a question today, but the first time Ben's been on, wealth of knowledge. Hopefully we're going to get him on again. If you do want to ask him a question, you can call up on his radio show too. Subscribe to his podcast, pharmacistben.com. Ken, how did Ben Fuchs get that jacket?
Well, that's a funny story, but that was, I had some people would see an orange suit, three-piece suit that I wore at convention a few years ago. I swapped that to a friend of mine for the green suit, and he wore the orange one, and that jacket's part of a suit that won Dancing with the Stars in America. So a dear friend of mine owned that jacket, owned that suit. I gave Ben the jacket, and I promised him the rest of the suit. You didn't get the jacket, the outer jacket or the pants, did you?
No, I got the outer jacket. I'm just not wearing it.
Oh, you got the outer jacket, okay.
I didn't get the pants, though.
Okay, I got to get them for you. I'll find out where they are, and I'll get them sent to you.
Thank you.
And then you'll be entirely green. You'll be like Kermit the Frog, my friend.
I hope I get to see you in person sometime soon with all this crazy.
Yes, mate. Well, thank you. Listen, thank you. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I know there's been people have stayed here since you absolutely started. And if anybody didn't get their question answered, get on to Ben's radio show, get on to anywhere. Just go to benfuchs.com, benfuchs.net, Pharmacist Ben. Just go chase him down. He will answer your questions. He's one of my favorite friends. I'm never going to show the picture of him and I eating an ice cream sundae.
It's just you. It was just Ken. It wasn't me.
Yeah, rubbish. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Unmute everybody. And let's all put our hands together for Ben.
If you want to unmute yourself and say thank you, Ben Fuchs, and g'day from Australia.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
From New Zealand. Excellent stuff.
Thanks, Ben. Great call.
Well, g'day guys, I'm Jamel Boukabou, a 2-star distributor with Youngevity International, and I'm with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who I listen to almost every day on his podcast. G'day, Pharmacist Ben, how you going?
Good day, I like that, good day.
How can people get to your official site and things like that?
TruthTreatments.com, we're changing the way skincare is done. TruthTreatments.com, no water, no filler, no wax, no emulsifier, no silicone, just 100% active and functional ingredients. TruthTreatments, plural.com.
And Ben, you're very popular on the net, all over the place. I love listening to your free daily podcast on
the Bright Side.
Yeah.
Bright Side. You listen to it?
And you can download that on iTunes or anything like that. I like to stream it and subscribe, but I'll put the links in how to get to Ben, and he does have a referral system and all these kinds of things, but I'll let you know. And Pharmacist Ben, great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Jamal.
Cheers. Bye.